So there's this film out there called Cuties. It's called Cuties. It's really split people down the middle. There's a lot of outrage over this film. I didn't know if I wanted to talk about this or not, but actually I do, because this is a very good example of the divide between types of thought, between ideologies, and also a complete disconnect of how people view the world and what is acceptable and what isn't. And everyone's got a point. This is not to say that I think the director should be set on fire, on a live stream in a council flat in Leeds. But at the same time, you have to ask questions about the thought process, getting to that point. Some people don't understand the purpose of art, alright, and some people don't understand the purpose of concern for children, okay? So there's many different things to talk about here. There's a culture war going on, and then there's a war of ideas about children, and then there's censorship, and then there's the double standards being put on display, which needs to be addressed. But to start with, let's just talk about the weirdo shit that's been going on. This is a good place to begin, of getting an understanding of how there's just weirdo shit going on all the time. Now, obviously right now you've got the whole QAnon thing going on, and child sex trafficking is a hot topic right now. There's all different aspects of child sex trafficking, but it's really coming to the fore of how bad it is. And I just watched a video, I can't remember the actress's name, but she's addressing a large audience of people and just talking about some stuff that she'd heard about from law enforcement and stuff that's going on. I don't even want to repeat what it was, but it's more fucked than you can imagine. The child pornography that's going on there. It's just got more, like a lot of porn, it's got more extreme and more extreme. It's just listening to it just makes you want to, I don't know, set fire to someone. Just anyone. It's that bad. It's fucking gross. So there is a big problem going on with it. And of course, there's all the links with Hollywood and stuff, and the satanic adrenochrome drinking elites and all this stuff, and Pizzagate and blah, 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 Epstein. There's a lot of shit going on. Now, is Hollywood a hotbed of satanic paedophilia? It's a dodgy place, let's put it that way. I've seen an open secret. Bryan Singer, those hot tub parties he was having were very misguided and awful. And, stuff that Isaac Cappy said, who knows how true that is. Then you got Corey Feldman trying to promote his latest documentary. Did Corey really get diddled in the end? Or who knows? I don't even he knows. Is Seth Green a paedophile monster? No, he's a terrible actor, but this is, that's not a crime yet. But when I get into power, it will be. So you have all these problems, and there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of smoke going on, And funny enough, there is a lot of smoke in California right now, like literal smoke. There is enough smoke to see this fire. And is Tom Hanks a diddler? I don't know. I don't think so. So there is that. You've got to bear in mind that is something that's going on. There's a lot of tension. And it's not a conspiracy neither that child sex trafficking is rife and it's not being talked about enough. I've seen enough to know that the numbers are fucking mental. Even if they're inflated a bit, they're just it's still fucking, it's what, This is another misguided thing when it comes to ideologies as well, because when you got the situation going on at the border in America and the separation of children from their parents, what people don't seem to understand is there is methods to the madness. Okay, it's not because everyone's just they're just mean and horrible. It's like you're dumb, man. You're really dumb. I can't remember the percentage. It's something like 30% of the kids that come across the border will not come across with their actual parents, and there's a lot of kids being trafficked for sex. Okay, some of them, God knows how they get into that situation. Kidnapped, sold, rented. They're orphans. There's all kinds of aspects of it. So the idea is they have to prove, and it's very difficult to prove sometimes, with undocumented illegal immigrants, whether they are your parents or not. And this goes down to the ideology, and the thinking. And you'll hear this from a lot of criminal defense lawyers stuff. And there's the belief system, I would rather have 10 guilty people go free than have one innocent person sent to prison. Right? That's the thought process. So it's like, think about it in those terms of, I would rather have 100 kids, crying for their parents for a couple of weeks or whatever, than have one child sold into sex trafficking. Fuck your kids, because I don't want one kid to get fucked. I know that's a real crude way to put it, but this is the only way you can understand it, isn't it? Because you've got a filthy mind. But this is true. But that's facts, man. I mean, look, cool. I'm cool with it. Okay. If that's what it takes, sometimes that's what it takes. Because what are the other options? Think of the scandal. If that didn't happen. So people got to understand that. And see, that's where the disconnect comes into it. Now, the weirdo shit that's really going on, it has the progression towards just acceptance and, you got an oppression Olympics that's been going on, but there's also there is a liberal Olympics these days of how fucking liberal you can be. How open-minded are you? Are you as open-minded as me and as forgiving, and do you have as much empathy as me? I don't think so. The virtual signaling Olympics is, the liberal virtual signaling Olympics, whatever you want to label it. Maybe call it the virtual signaling Olympics. It's just, they're just pushing it just a bit too far sometimes. And the great examples are, it's just the stuff to do with kids. And, you've got the Desmond is Amazing thing. If you don't know who Desmond is Amazing, he's a 11-year-old, or he's probably 12 now. He's a child drag act, okay? And he was paraded all over mainstream television and documentaries done about him, and he's this famous drag act. There's a couple of others as well that are very young, but he's a very famous one because there's some iffy stuff going on where he was actually, hanging out on a YouTube video with a convicted murderer. Who was I can't remember the guy's name, but they made a film about him with Macaulay Culkin years ago, where this guy actually, was a drug addict and chopped up his drug dealer in a bath. Upon his release, he's hanging out with an 11-year-old. It's just, do you know what I mean? It's just, this stuff's a bit odd. And, and this kid's doing, you can label it whatever you want, but it is a form of striptease routine going on in a gay club. And he's taking items of clothing off, and they're throwing money at him. Grown men. Okay? But this isn't outrageous. This is liberating. This is embracing. This is, oh, what are you, some sort of bigot? Apparently the concern for child protection has now become an issue of bigotry and hatred. But it is. It's like, are you fucking dizzy? What is wrong with you? People just don't. You just don't want him to be free and to be who he is. I just don't want old men throwing money at a child. I don't know. Call me old. You can call me old-fashioned on that one. Okay. I like phones and stuff. Stem cell therapy looks all right, but throwing money at kids in a strip club, I don't think is acceptable. And then they'll try to equate it. Well, it's no different to those beauty pageants. Right, they're creepy too. You're all creepy. Now can you fuck off? So there's that weirdo shit going on. Just to accept everything and to parade children around as these sexually emancipated beings. It's like, what? No, he's 11. And obviously with all the puberty blocking things going on, there's all these things going on where they keep pushing and pushing and pushing just acceptance and everything. And listening to the children, and they're just fucking with kids. And people are like, will you stop fucking with kids, please? Okay? You can do what you like to yourself, but leave the fucking kids alone. So we are in a situation where, I just realised the aircon's probably blowing right into the microphone, isn't it? Right, stay there. So it is getting to a stage where people are looking at parents and going, a lot of liberal parents, and saying, you're fucking with kids, where all their decisions are just fucked. It's just like, we're sort of thinking that social services should round up millions of kids because their parents are just bonkers. It's getting to that stage. There's weirdo shit going on. It's like they're just trying to push the envelope so far that it's just, they don't even know what the fuck they're doing anymore. You know, I mean, there's the whole thing when they had, like the drag queen story reading thing in New York. It's like, we're going to have bedtime stories read to little children by a drag queen. It's like, well, why? I understand, you know, introducing people to marginalized groups and so forth, you know, it prevents the build-up of hatred, and, you know, because fear, you know, you fear the unknown and all this stuff. I get it. I remember, you know, first engaging, got to word this correctly, having a conversation and hanging out with homosexuals when I was about 11 with friends of my parents. It was the first time I'd ever talked to a homosexual before. And before that, I was like, and it was cool. And then after that, you know, I get the mindset of it, okay? But the thing is, being a drag queen has got little to do with sexuality. It's just a fucking weird, it's a niche, it's just some weird art form. It's very, you know, because it's not like, they're not like transgenders or transvestite, you know, who dress up, I am a woman, I am a man, look at me, you know, they just look like monsters from a David Lynch dream sequence, these drag queens. Do you know what I mean? They're not feminine. I mean, I don't know what it's just something for adult cabaret clubs. Do you know, like a contortion artist or a fucking naughty hypno show? Do you know what I mean? You know, here's some bird who can fire darts out of vagina. Here's a guy that can turn his penis into 15 different shapes. Do you know, it's adult entertainment. Why do we need to introduce children to... I don't understand the logic of it. You know, it's like, because it's like, what? Because drag queens are some minority that need to be embraced. It's just an art form. Drag is an art form. Why? It's just odd to me. It's just, well, we need to introduce the children to drag queens. And I think it's all part of the push, of just pushing the envelope further and further and just going, hey, I'm more accepting than you. Because, you know, I don't know if you know about, like, places like London and New York and, you know, Skegness. You know, these sort of places that attract people, outsiders come to the big city, you know, and they come from their bog-pissed town where everyone's, you know, very socially conservative, you know, and they get an earring or a nose ring, and it's like, oh my God, what is that? Are you the devil? You know, one of these real backward places where fuck all goes on, and they get to the city, and, you know, they're seeing trannies walking around and gays dry humping in the street, and, you know, there's black people, they've never seen them before. There's all kinds of shit going on. They're like, wow, look at this place, it's so accepting of everything. And, you know, they just go a bit mad, and they're just like, oh. And then they're just constantly pushing the envelope, and they're going, you know, Dad was like, oh, your fucking nose ring, what are you, some sort of prick, you know. And then they kiss their best friend on the mouth who's the same sex, you know. Look, I'm a lesbian now, Dad. Yeah, Dad, look at that. Look at me, Dad. Yeah, Dad, bet you don't like that, do you, Dad? You know, and they're just constantly pushing the envelope of acceptance. Everything's acceptable. You know, and they'll hang out with some drag artists, and they'll take them to some party, and there's S&M going on, and say, now we're going to fist this 15-year-old. Going, wow, the borders of acceptance. Oh my God, this is like, we're pushing the boundaries of social norms here. Yeah, we're going to chop our genitals off and set fire to it in a bucket. I know, we're pushing against the conforms of society. And I think they're just pushing it, going, yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, well, we're going to have story readings by drag queens. That's how accepting of people I am, of weirdos and shit. It's like, oh, really? Oh, yeah? Yeah? I'm going to have a painting class. I'm going to have a child fucking life drawing class with a convicted paedophile. That's how much empathy I have. That's how accepting I am. I'm way more liberal than you. I'm more virtuous than you. I forgive them. You know? We've got a child murderer here. He's going to teach the kids origami. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? Whatever. That kind of thing. The Boy Scouts, what's going to happen with that? We're just going to have a pervert. You know? We're going to have Annabella Chong's going to come in and fuck 400 dudes in front of the scout troop just to show how bloody progressive we are and forward-thinking we are, you know. You know, why? Because I'm more progressive and liberal than you, okay? It's this constant pushing of the envelope and this constant thing of just fucking with kids, man. It's like, just calm down. Do you know, we are so accepting of so many different things. We don't need to accept everything. Because it's like, You know, homosexuality hasn't been illegal for 50 years in the UK, all right, okay? Everything's pretty cool now. Everyone's just they're like, there's people who constantly go, oh, I'm bisexual. What do you think about that? I said, it's 2020. What do you mean? Do you expect me to set my dog on you? What are you talking about? So they can't shock no more about how there's no boundaries to shock no more because a lot of things are acceptable. So now they're just going to go so far as going, my son's 8 and he's going to have his penis chopped off because he thinks he's a girl. What do you think about that, you draconian conservative loon? You know, it's just going too far, you know. It's like, well, who do we accept now? Everyone's accepted. Paedophiles, I suppose. You know, paedophiles, we can have National Paedophile Month at some point. That's what they want because there's nothing left to accept. Everything's acceptable. Do you know what I mean? There's only, there's still places where this stuff isn't accepted and people still have their fucking iffiness about gays and fucking black people and God knows what problems people have with other people. People have problems with people who have strange eyebrows, you know what I'm saying? Like, people are just weird anyways. It doesn't really matter. No one's going to accept everybody. But in terms of legally and culturally, I mean, we've been in a good space for fucking a long time. And I was like, no, you need to accept everybody, including child murderers. Do you know what I mean? So, you just need to fucking calm yourself down, don't you? Don't you, son? Eh? So there's that, okay? I hope that puts that all to bed so you have an understanding. The other understanding is, there's the art. Okay, so let's go through the art versus parents. I mean, look, Mumsnet, right? Mumsnet mums will share any content on Facebook, usually Facebook. They don't know how to use Twitter. And they'll be like, it'll be some kid will be murdered by their parents or raped, and they want to share this content because they're just outraged. They're mums. They're like, have you seen how evil people are? And these are Mumsnet mums. If you gave all the Mumsnet mums a gun, no longer would the murder rate be predominantly committed by males. Okay, there'd be a mass mob rule would just reign supreme. This is why you need to have the police in place, because when it comes to kids, above anything, I've seen mob rule in full effect when I worked out in Spain, when someone thought that a guy had touched their kid, and there was a massive there was a lynching in a swimming pool, all right, by drunk British people. This is how people are. This is why you need the law, because lynching would be rife. There's a switch in the brain that just says, kids, weird shit. And people get burnt and hacked to pieces. It's just one of those switches. Like, racism doesn't even compare to paedophilia in the grand scheme, in the grand consciousness of the world. It's like, it's just no. Like, even murderers and rapers of women don't like paedophiles. Let's remember this. You can go. They'll put them in the rape wing at jail. There'll be like 20 dudes who raped a woman. A grown woman. We're talking adult rape here, all right? And some paedophile will come in and go, look at this piece of shit, and they'll fucking burn him. Do you know, everyone hates it. No one likes him. So you need to understand. When you got girls in a French film of all things, and we know what the French are like. You know, the French, I mean, Jesus, what was it? The age of consent is the second trimester or something? You know, it's France, isn't it? I was a prostitute at 14. You know, this is France, for goodness sake. And the director is incredibly French. When she was talking in an interview, I was like, she sounds like a parody of a French person. She's like, oh, so I made a film about the little girls. You know, it's French, and everyone's just like, I don't want to see an 11-year-old girl popping her ass in tight, skimpy clothing. Is that fair? I think that's fair enough, isn't it? That people don't like that, regardless of and they talk about the message. The message. Yeah, I get it. I get the message. Well, one of the messages. I get it. And people are sort of saying, oh, but you're taking it out of context. This is the worst clip of the whole film. You know, this is the worst clip in the whole film. It's still a clip in the film, and there's still children doing it. It's not CGI. They are 11. And this is what people see, and they say, no. And that's it. That's what we've got to understand. Doesn't matter about art when it comes to that kind of thing. People just look at it and go, no. No. That's it. How difficult is that to understand? Go, oh, but it's acting and it's art and it's this. Yeah, you can convince me, but I'm not Joe Average, man. You can go to the art community and philosophers, and they can all have a very balanced discussion about, the pushings of boundaries when it comes to art and getting your message across. But, most people are just no. And good. I'm glad there's people out there. This is why you need the balance of left and right. You need the balance. You need the people to point out when they're pushing it too far and go, you want to calm that down a bit. It's weird this come to Cuties. That, we should be more outraged about, them chopping off 10-year-olds' ding-dongs and shit, but apparently that's all fine. That's legally binding. But Cuties, well, fuck that. So there's a problem. It doesn't matter what you think about the message of the film, that it is exploring the idea of the sexualization of children when you have children being photographed and filmed doing the sexualized things that they're talking about. Because children don't have, parents have to sign off on it, and therefore children, child acting is a weird thing, and it's a kind of a sketchy thing, because essentially it's not really up to the child. They can't legally make decisions on their own, and that's where you get the weird shit going on. And like I said, because you've got all these parents who just constantly pushing the boundaries of what is acceptable and being super liberal and super virtuous about everything, it's sometimes you think, you question their thinking. There's a thing going on. But the fact is, though, it doesn't matter about what the film's about. The image and the video exist. It's real, okay? And that is what people have concerns about. Now, there are, you're going to get the lunatics who think this is some paedophile porn. That's suddenly being made legal. Your gran will be like, I don't understand what's going on, without understanding the plot of it. But you have to understand the fact that it is footage of this thing. It is real. It doesn't matter if it's acting, because it's still, people just don't understand acting anymore. It's they're still in the outfits doing the things on film. So it doesn't matter about what the message is. It still has the children doing the thing. Okay? There's the problem. And I've seen some douchebags trying to make some comparisons with Taxi Driver and Kids. When I made the comparison with Kids, Kids is written by Harmony Korine, directed by, is it Larry Childs? What a name. Is it Larry Childs? Or is it Gus Van Sant? Is it Larry Childs? Whatever. But Kids came out in the 90s. Very controversial. Still controversial. You look at Kids and, it was about the AIDS epidemic in New York and how kids in in Manhattan were, grew up way too quickly, doing drugs and having underage sex and all this sort of stuff. Very controversial, but the way it's done is, a lot of people still don't like the film. I'm okay with it. I think, but you can't make the comparison between that, because you never see kids having sex in it. I mean, this is the disconnect. And then going back to Taxi Driver, it's Jodie Foster was young, playing a young person, but all the bits, the sexy bits, she had a body double who was her sister, her of-age sister, did all the body double stuff. I mean, you can look at Killer Joe. I mean, Killer Joe is a completely fucked movie. I mean, I love that film. It's fucking brilliant, but it's fucked. Matthew McConaughey, basically, starts having a relationship with a 12-year-old. Okay, that's what actually happens. But the thing is, the girl who portrays it, she's it's only when she says she's 12 that you're like, what? But I'm not sure how old she was. I think she's 8, the girl. She's an Irish actress. I think she was 18 and they did it, but she sort of looks 15, 16. She doesn't look 12 at all. But they were like, are we going to get it? Because originally it was a stage production. And I think the stage production, they had grown actresses playing the 12-year-old. But they made the decision to go, do we get a 12-year-old to be kissing Matthew McConaughey on this? No, let's not do that. They made the decision to go, no. And I don't know if the scenes when she is a bit naked, if it is the actress or a body double or whatever. But basically, the fact is she's not 12. This is the difference. Do you understand acting yet? She's not 12, okay? The character is 12. The actress, it's that old Hollywood thing. In old Hollywood, when they have, here's some college kids, and they're like 18, and they look 40. They're like 40 with these big chins, like, hey, I'm 18, I'm in the ball team. Do you know how Hollywood used to do it? Like, even going back to fast forward to Dawson's Creek, you know, he was 17. James Van Der Beek was 32. Hannah Montana, the guy that played Hannah Montana's fucking brother, who's supposed to be 15, was 38. He was 38. You know, and I know we can't compare, because obviously Cuties isn't a Hollywood film, but people just think all, especially Americans, think all film is Hollywood. I know Hollywood steals all the good ideas and shit, but, you know, they can't process it in their brains, okay? So you're going to have to allow them that bit of leeway. But this is a thing that is done. You know, you get an older actress to play the kids. I guess, but the fact is, it is more shocking that it is 11-year-olds playing 11-year-olds, obviously. It's way more shocking. And is that what they're going for? But anyway, look. So there's just so much to unpack on this, my God. Well, how has this film created this fucking debate? God. But the difference is who portrays the film. Now, look, if you're going to go down the road of, like, if I mean, exploring the sexualization of children is a very interesting topic. If that's your goal of what you want to do with a piece of art, you got to think about it. Like, what do I do? Do I write a book? Do I make a documentary? Or do I make a narrative film? All right, so you've got to write. So then you've made the choice to make a narrative film. Then you run into trouble. Book, and even in a play you can have more suspension of there's more suspension of reality because it's in the theatre. It's, you know, oh, we're outside, and they're not. Do you know? There's a lot more. You know, you have to let go of a lot of preconceptions. I'm trying to think of the proper word in theatre. In a book, you can write what the fuck you want because it's a victimless crime. A documentary, you know, you can show some stuff and you can choose to blur it. You can make choices in a documentary that you wouldn't make in a narrative film. Well, actually, no, that's a load of bollocks. You can still make the choices. But you've decided, you know, all right, I'm going to make this film. This is my directorial debut, okay? And when you're writing the script, you know, because she wrote this as well, the woman, so it's like, you're going to be writing it, and at some point I'm saying, you've got to write, and then the 11-year-old girl starts twerking on the floor and sniffing her fingers or whatever the fuck happens in this film, like, and then you're writing it going, how the fuck am I going to shoot this? And she's a first-time director as well. And in the hands of someone with more experience would think of a different approach. It's like, how, you know, you have to say to yourselves, going, because me, if I was exploring that theme, I wouldn't. I'd get to that point of writing it and going, shit, like, how do I do this? Is it worth it? Do I do this? There's all that. So these decisions, and look, there are many ways you can do this without having to show it. I mean, look, I said, if Michael Haneke had done it, it would have been, you know, you wouldn't be having these videos circulating, and it'd be just as controversial. You know what I'm saying? It's like in Funny Games. Michael Haneke explores the idea of cinematic violence being the same as real violence. And in Funny Games is one of the most disturbing things you will ever see. And yet there is no violence in it. On screen, you don't see any violence. It's only suggested, and you see the outcomes of the violence. Like a little kid gets his head blown off, okay? You never see him get shot. You just see his body lying motionless on the floor for 10 minutes as his mum tries to wriggle. It's terrifying, but it's all about what you don't see. And obviously with this, I mean, how do you approach that? Well, these are the questions you need to ask. And then when you get to the pre-production stage, someone's going to have to go, so casting. You're going to talk about casting, and the producer's going to be there. And this is the problem when you have a very liberal bubble surrounding the industry. When there's not that, you need I would say, I don't know, you need some old hardline Christian African, like her dad. I mean, this is all about her being, I don't know if they're Christian, no, the Muslims or the Christians, whatever, but the hardline African religious type who are like very extremely conservative, going, what are you, the devil? You need one of them in the room going, I don't know about that. You know, we're going to cast 11-year-olds. And then, you know, the producer's got to go out, and the casting director, and they've got to meet with the families. And then they got to sign off, and they got to explain to them that their kids are going to do this, and there's this decision of the parents. And it all gets to that stage where you still have to ask the questions going, what do we show? How do we, I mean, this has to be handled well. You know, because if you don't handle these deep subjects well, you end up with a fucking mess. And there's lots of films out there that have tried to handle like some sort of deep subjects that are a complete fucking failure. Now, I don't know if this film is, because I'm not going to watch it until this is all blown over, because my mind is just full of too much shit to be able to process it properly. And I'm talking as a whether it's a good film or not the themes and all the rest of it, and the blatant sight of little girls doing stuff that you don't want to see, which is apparently part of the point. And this is the question you've got to pose to people. You know, the decisions of the parents. Let's take two examples that might not seem like they're exactly the same, but they are very similar. This is the blatant double standards that you see. I mean, the right have double standards, of course, but they're very consistent when it comes to their sort of finger wagging and what they consider to be, you know, what they consider to be wrong or what you shouldn't be doing. They're very consistent with that. They always have been. You know, Marilyn Manson's the devil. Let's go pick at his concerts. They've always been consistent with this kind of thing. This is paedophile porn. Very consistent. The left are extremely inconsistent, and they have been. The double standard is why people don't want to support it. And I'll tell you why, because look, get the example, okay? So you're talking about the decisions of parents, okay? Let's talk about, because this is a decision of parents to have these kids in the films in the first place, okay? And then, so you got the H&M campaign, okay? Remember H&M? Remember the coolest monkey in the jungle t-shirt? You know? I mean, it is a shame that in this day and age, we haven't moved away from that racist rhetoric of associating monkeys with a racial slur for people. You know, I can call my nephew a cheeky little monkey without having to think twice about it. I don't like the way we've created this eggshell walking culture for certain people, because no one wants to be tiptoed around. No one does. I really do believe that. Well, maybe some exceptions. But anyway, look. But that's a totally different point entirely. So you've got the coolest monkey in the jungle thing. People are so outraged by the decision of the parents and this that they set fire to H&M's, okay? Because their thinking is they see a deliberate thing going on. They're saying this is racism at its worst. That's what they see, and they've immediately made the association. They've decided already this is racism. We're going to set fire to H&M's. This happened, and now you got a similar situation. They look at this. They go, "Cuties, this is paedophile porn." That's it. No one set fire to anybody yet. They threatened to kill people, but they haven't burnt anything. But the fact is it's outrage. So you have to present that to the people who go, "Oh, you don't understand. This is just so ridiculous." It's like, yeah, well, was the coolest monkey in the jungle thing outrageous enough to cancel H&M? Because they've made the decision to put a kid in a t-shirt that says coolest monkey in the jungle, a black kid. They've made that decision. The parents made that decision. Because everyone's going, what are these parents fucking stupid for signing off on this? And then you got parents signing off on kids doing this in a film. But the best comparisons are, this is why it's a culture war thing, because they've constantly been going after everything. They want to shut down so many different things. They applaud these dumb corporations who have moments of knee-jerk reactions, like to the BLM movement, where they're, you know, taking down Little Britain, not showing Gone with the Wind, you know, this kind of stuff. This knee-jerk reaction going, "Oh my God, we don't want to upset the people," you know. A man, you know, someone in blackface. Well, it's just acting, isn't it? It is just acting. Oh, but no, it causes offence to adults. This is art. Do you understand? You either support all of it, or you can get the fuck out of the conversation. This is the point. This is the point that's being made. Not by everybody. Some people do think, you know, these paedophiles need to be set on fire. But this is my point. It's like, if you want to back this, then you back everything, because that's what it's all about. It's about freedom of expression, isn't it? So it's perfectly fine for someone to do blackface. It's perfectly fine to have, you know, the Joker film was fine. Look at the outrage around the Joker film. They thought this was a call to arms for incels to shoot up movie theaters. That's what they were saying. This is going to incite violence. They were sounding more crazy than the right-wing people at all. And that's just a film. No one is murdered in the film. Not really. There's not some big announcement that we're going, we want you to... You know. And now they're going poncing around defending art all of a sudden. And this is the weird thing that hit... And people have said this is the hill you're going to die on when you're defending art. Is this. Which is... And it's a very good point. It's like, what is acceptable to you motherfuckers? You know, there's only certain types of art we like. And the fact is, this is a film that's, especially the fact that it's a woman director, an immigrant woman of colour, as they like to put it, because they love to tick these boxes. And therefore it's like, we have to support. In their brains they're like, I have to support this. I mean, if Cuties was directed by Richard Spencer, I don't know if I'm not sure if they'd have the same sort of, they wouldn't be able to defend it. They really wouldn't. They just couldn't. Ideologically, they couldn't defend it. See, this is when it comes to a tribal thing. And it is war. It's like, all right, well, you take this shit away from us. We're going to, look how this looks, motherfucker. Because the moral compass is all fucked. Because they're like, you can't be, like a Mexican can't portray an Italian. A gay person can't portray a straight person. A trans person can't portray a non-trans person. Oh, sorry, they reversed it. Well, whatever it is. Again, they don't even understand the concept of acting. It's like, all right, you want to have all this shit taken away. And it's not, they didn't, people weren't asking for, Little Britain to get removed and episodes of Gavin and Stacey to get removed from these platforms. The corporations did that because they just pander all the fucking time. This is what corporations do. So the people weren't calling for that. They were just calling for justice reforms and blah, 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 what they were going for. But these types were going for lots of shit before that. They've cancelled so much shit, been outraged about so many little things. And the sexualization of children is outrageous. Okay? But but now suddenly they're defending art, even though they've tried to cancel everything. They say it's a conspiracy that they do that. It's fucking not. I've heard the lunacy coming out their mouths. Now, they're looking at this is a pro-Trump film. And it's like, what is your problem? Are you mental? This is what they do. And now it's come back to bite them on the ass. And even people who think that Cuties is no problem are still going to want to get it cancelled because this is a war. This is war. Now, let's get down to the fact of art. Look, do I think art should be banned? Do I think this is a paedophile film? No. But I understand the provocation to want to make something provocative and to have something shocking. It's very, that makes you think. The argument they're making is that you have to feel uncomfortable around it. I get that, And I'm all for something being so shocking that people are outraged over it. That's what it should be doing. But there's people going, we're going to look back on this in 10 years and think how ridiculously prudish we were. It's like, I don't think so. I think so. Lolita was outrageous in its time because of the because of the topic of underage sex, and there's no underage sex in it at all. And the girl who plays Lolita is probably was, like I said, this is the 60s. She was probably 65. So there's no problem going on there. It's the subject matter, but it's when you show what's going on. There's certain things that you should sort of think about not showing. This comes to creative decisions. All right, so you're going for the shock value. Well, then you must be able to deal with the consequences of that, and the people are going to be fucking accusing you of doing some weirdo shit. Okay. So for me, I just wouldn't feel comfortable doing it. I just wouldn't. I'd go, imagine directing. I'm there going, no, you need to arch your back a bit more. Now shake those little cheeks. I mean, Jesus Christ. Come on. Just think about it. You're like, no. And obviously, as a woman doing it, so it would be a bit different. Let's face facts. It is different. It's a lot different. Not that women aren't fucking creepy weirdos too, but the fact is, it's little girls with a woman. There's a different dynamic going on there, but still, you have to feel fucking uncomfortable doing it. How important is the message that you actually have to show this kind of shit? And I get it. It's all about, the shock value and stuff. And I think the film still has a confused message and this is why the marketing's so confused, because she says this is a coming of age film about her, and it's autobiographical in a sense because she's Senegalese. She's from an immigrant family, a very hardline conservative family. And then she comes to France, and then there's all these new things that would never happen in her culture. And it's like, oh, this is so liberating. Like I said, the story of the liberal that arrives in the city because they come from, I'm from Bog Piss Kilmarnock. They'll kill you for fucking having the wrong haircut. And I came to London, and everyone's flamboyant here. It's that kind of thing, It's like, oh, wow. And, it's an interesting thing about, the more liberal culture versus the more conservative culture. And interesting enough, if this is what happens at the end of the film, but it's like, it's her conservative culture that pulls her back from the sexualization aspect of it. It's the conservatism that saves her from becoming a hoe, I suppose. I don't know what path she was going down. But that's like, from what I've read of it, that's what they're saying. So it's actually kind of pro-conservatism. And even the people defending it are like defending the fact that it's the cultural conservative values of her immigrant family that pulls her away from the evil satanic clutches of the Western world. Which makes this film even more interesting. I mean, this film's called Cuties, for fuck's sake. Why is this film so interesting? But there is that, and that is an interesting story, that's fine. But then she's sort of tried to put in this, and this is why I want to watch this film later, because to see what's going on. But then she's tried to put in this other theme of the sexualization of children, which is kind of different. But this is which is weird, which is kind of like the Islamic argument against why they do stuff in the West, where, when jihadists are going, oh, you've turned all our women into whores, and they say the values of the West are despicable and all this stuff. This is something that goes on, and it's like, but our values will stop you from doing this. It's got that kind of vibe going on about it. But that's a different story, But then you got the story of the sexualization of children. But this isn't her story. Like I said, this is supposed to be autobiographical. This is a coming of age story based on her childhood. But then she's trying to put in something that, she says that she spoke to lots of young girls and stuff. But it's not something that she has direct experience with. Not in the current rampant social media age. I mean, this woman's in her early 30s, from what I remember. So I don't know. Maybe she's just trying to put too much into it. Like, that could be your follow-up. Once you've learned to craft, then you could go explore those sort of topics in a totally. There's so many different ways you could explore this. Like I said, if it was a cartoon or a play, you can show whatever you want because there's no. It's just that side of it that people feel icky about. Okay, and it is a bit icky. But like I said, I wouldn't call for its cancellation because then I'd be a hypocrite. But yeah, I totally get it. Fuck yeah. You think I'm gonna be dying on the hill of? I'm not gonna die on the hill of making sure Cuties doesn't get cancelled. Are you mad? Get real. For the sake of art. The fact is, this isn't a situation where we're looking back at Elvis wiggling his hips. Oh my God, it's the devil. Like I said, the liberal acceptance has always tried to push the boundaries and maybe pushed it a bit too much, especially with pornography, where pornography is starting to have an adverse effect on the world. But you can still look at Clockwork Orange and it's fucked. I love it. It's one of my favorite films, but like, it doesn't belong in any time. It's still shocking. You don't look back on Clockwork Orange and go, oh, it was a big hurrah about nothing. That film is of its time with certain aspects, but it's in any time that film's fucking crazy. There's cartoonish rape in it. I mean, it's mental. It doesn't belong in any time period. It's always going to be shocking. And Killer Joe, I don't think Killer Joe's ever. That film's always going to be shocking. It's crazy. There's oral sex with chicken wings. He punches a bitch in the face. He's fucking a 12-year-old. They're plotting to murder their mother. I mean, it's just beyond fucked. The reason it's great is because that's what people are like. People are shit sometimes. Just accept it. Just accept it. But like I said, I'm not gonna die on the I don't think you should die on the Cuties hill. It's just like, because it might not be that good. So, but the thing is, like, with the coming of age thing and the whole cultural thing, the Footloose It's the Footloose concept, isn't it? Oh, we're very conservative around here, and oh, here's these dancers, and oh, it's that kind of vibe. And just look at the trailer, and it's just the trailer that they created. It's not selling me on the whole theme of the sexualization of children. It's literally, oh, my conservative parents don't want me to be liberated and free, and I just want to get to the dance contest and win. You know, it's like Step Up or fucking, you know, Bring It On. That's how it's been promoted. Because people who work in these marketing departments don't have a clue about art. They just know bullshit. You know, there'll be some 30-year-old woman go, oh, I really like Step Up 3D, and this is kind of like that, so should we just do it like that? You know, and change it. I mean, the original poster where there's the girl sort of looking sort of vacant and like, you know, with none of this saucy clothing on. And then Netflix goes, no, because this is about dance. We need to market this because girls love dancing in the playground. We need to make it all dancey and prancy. You know, because they're fucking idiots. This is why a man should have done it. I'm just assuming it was women that did it because, you know, they're just crap. You see? We're all having fun here, aren't we? I'm joking. Whatever. It's just the most ludicrous. Like they just don't know how to market stuff at all. So, and this goes back to so many different films. I remember the Bridesmaids marketing just made it look like, yeah, here's The Hangover with women being gross. But you actually watch Bridesmaids. It's not that, but it's funny. It's actually it's when Paul Feig was the only film he could probably make properly. You know. But I'm just saying that they don't know how to promote this kind of stuff. They just don't know what they're doing. So the coming of age thing, the way it looks is it's the coming of age thing. It's the liberation of little girls. But then you've got this other theme that completely conflicts against it. But when it comes to discussing different values, you know, it's life reflecting art and art reflecting life. The conservative values versus the more liberal values are completely at loggerheads right now, which is apparently what the film's about, which therefore makes it more interesting. But then obviously the translation doesn't work, does it? Because in French, I can't remember what it's called in French, but it sounds more. But when you translate it to English, Cuties. I mean, you had to just leave the original French name, for goodness sake. There was a time when people would go to watch foreign language films before America decided, no, reading's too difficult. Why do you need to just do the direct translation? Some direct translations don't work. You know, it's called Cuties. Ugh. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's called Cuties. Do you want to go watch Cuties? You know, you find the file on someone's computer. Cuties. You'll just smash the computer up and chop their head off. As an instant reaction, because this is how when it comes to kids. You're like, what? You chop his head off. Or her head off, as we found out. You know, it's just, come on. These people are fucking stupid. What is wrong with these people? What has happened to marketing departments? Like, God, you know, like Gillette thinks it's a good idea to call their customer base rapist scumbags. Oh, that'll sell a few razors, won't it? It's like, what is wrong with you? Do you not know what you're doing anymore? Who is in charge right now? What's your latest campaign? McDonald's? Meat is murder? Like, what? What the fuck? Who is in charge? So it's just so poorly handled. Now, was it deliberate? You know, there is outrage marketing. You never know. The coolest monkey in the jungle thing. You never know. But all publicity isn't good publicity because Netflix stock is lost 9 billion. What is it? It's lost a lot. I don't think it's 9 billion. Can't be sure. It's lost a lot. But it probably will bounce back once this is all blow over. You know, environmentalism's coming back. Then we talk about that. Then the election's going to happen. You know, and then the killer robots from outer space will come. So Netflix will bounce back from this. It's, you know, people are very fickle about this sort of stuff. It's not going to be endless. But, you know, the translation thing and the marketing thing is bad. You know, let's not forget, in German, butterfly is Spetterlich. Okay? Sounds like a fucking Nuremberg trials star witness or one of the convicted war criminals, you know. It doesn't translate very nicely. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just fucking leave the French name in the original poster. Stop trying to promote stuff. This is what I'm saying. This is a disconnect with these people because they just look at it and go, yeah, but it's fine. It's like, it's not. Do you not understand people? Are you fucking crazy? This is a serious lack of understanding. from this very small minority of people who don't understand average people, like everyday people. Do you know? And I look at that poster and go, fucking burn this thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on, what are you doing? And now we've got to a stage where everyone's saying, oh, they're backtracking. But I've looked into it. You know, the woman has been pretty consistent about what she says this film is about since January, okay? When it was at Sundance and that. She's been consistent. Like I said, I don't know, I don't have to watch it, but like it just sounds like there's two confusing messages going on, and the creative choice, you're going to have to deal with it. You know, this is what happens when you make these kind of controversial decisions. But like viewing this through a lens of like, oh, this is the, you know, think of the 1950s and how uptight we were then. Nah. When it comes to kids, it's been pretty consistent. Go back to Lolita, go back to everything. It's consistent, man. It's consistent. Or just this gross stuff. You know, they had a show in the 80s which was very strange. It was little kids would mime along to pop music of the time, and you have little girls with lipstick on and dressed like Madonna and stuff like that, and they'd just be miming to it. And looking back on it, it's like, yeah, it's still fucking creepy, mate. And they took it off air for a good reason. Like, yo, this is creepy. What have we done? Oh dear, it's still creepy. It's fucking. This is 30 years ago, and it's maybe even longer than that. It's still fucking creepy, mate. It's still creepy. So don't use that whole argument. You know, looking back, there's still films that are fucked. Yeah, this film's fucked. It's still gonna be creepy. So you can't use that argument. You can't use it. You know, a lot of these arguments just die in their ass. You know, it's a very strange thing to say. We don't want to. We want to tackle, and I understand what they're trying to do, but I understand why. You know, this is why it's easier to have an ideology to guide you, because then you don't have to have these debates. And this is where we're at, because people just go for the easy option. Do I like this or hate this? And then their tribe tells them if they like it or not, without even getting into it. Because me, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to die on this hill. You mad? Get fucked. I'm telling you. But I'll tell you this. Close statement, you know, put all the shit back on air. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. If art is art, I support art, alright? Doesn't matter. Just put it back. Okay? But I don't support weirdo shit. Alright? No more book clubs for fucking convicted paedophiles or whatever the hell you're doing in downtown Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Just calm it down, would you? Alright? We get your point. You're very open-minded and liberal. Oh, well, congratulations, alright? But you need to rein it back in. You know? It was like we're gonna have Tiny Tots pole dancing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Oh, how liberating! Like, calm down, would you? We get it. All right? You're very open-minded. Well, good for you. So am I. This is why I embrace everything. You know what I mean? So that's Cuties. But it is hilarious. It's still hilarious because it does. It's still just looking at it. When you first see it, you're just the post and the trailer and the clips. You're like, whoa. But it doesn't matter. Like, it's not taken out of context. It's still girls doing that thing, regardless of what you think. You know, people just need to understand both sides of it. But there you go. That's me. You know, this isn't going to please anybody because I'm trying to keep it straight down the middle. But just to make my position clear, I would not shoot that. I would not film that for that kind of stuff. I just wouldn't do it. I'd think of another way of doing it. If I couldn't do it, I would do it for another medium, in a book or something, or a documentary, like I said, or a cartoon. Because when it comes to, it's like, can we do this? Should we do this? Can we do this? Should we do this? These are the questions you need to ask when it comes to doing that. You know, is it worth it? Because this subject can be tackled in many different ways, you know. But I think the core of the story sounds great. And obviously this film's going to be bigged up now to be probably better than it. This is my suspicion that it's not going to be very good. You know, because they're just having to defend it. They have to defend it, you know. But from the looks of it and from the reviews being people who are critical of the decisions to put the little kids in it, they still say it's actually quite a good core story to it and whatever. It's just a bit confusing, but whatever. It's definitely not the Cuck film, which they said, don't watch Joker. This film called Cuck is the real truth. I mean, that you don't even need to watch that film to see how. I mean, the trailer, it's just, this is terrible. This is some person who has no idea what they're doing. Whereas I think this woman has a better idea of what she's doing. This ain't no cuck situation, do you know what I mean? But there you go, what do you want to be? Do you want to be some sort of prude? Or, my brother called me a prude once. A very strange accusation. Or do you want to be, or do you want to stop kids getting fucked with? If Cuties has to die on the hill, if Cuties has to go in order to get the message across that we don't want our kids being fucked with, then maybe so be it. Maybe so be it. Not outright banned. It can come back and we can revisit it later and the themes. But right now, maybe if it just brings light to this hideous situation that's going across the earth, and I'm not talking about the weirdo fucking conspiracy stuff, I'm talking about the stuff that's really actually going on. We need to stop talking about nonsense. We need to stop talking about slavery from the past and address the slavery that's actually going on right now. And we need to stop talking about, the weird ideas of Tom Hanks injecting adrenochrome into his face. Celine Dion's got a fucking, baby harvesting fucking chamber in her basement. We need to get away from that weird shit and just go, hey, have you seen about the shit about child trafficking, what's going on? It's fucking gross. Can we do something about it? Hey, how about we do that? Well, that'd be too easy, wouldn't it? That doesn't win elections in the hearts of the people. Not real stuff. Well, there you go. If you've enjoyed this or you want to send me some abuse, you know what to do.